Hey everybody, I hope you can see me over the back here because we've got 3 large cases on the go today, which is going to be a bit of a handful, but they're all launching today, so I thought I'd try and get them all into this video. So fingers crossed it all goes okay and none of them fall on me off the desk or anything like that. If you don't see a conclusion to this video, you'll know that I'm probably in A&E or something with a broken foot. Hopefully that won't happen though, but we've got 3 brand new cases from NZXT, so super exciting stuff because NZXT is one of my favorite case manufacturers, always comes up with very sleek and often unique features as well. So we've got 3 cases and they all retail for slightly different price points, or actually they don't all retail for slightly different price points. The N7 Elite here will retail for around $200, probably a bit less than that, hopefully in the UK in pounds. And these 2 cases over here, the H7 Flow as you can see because it's got the vented front panel, and the H7 with its sealed front panel, they both retail for $130. So hopefully again a bit less than that in pounds in the UK, but we'll wait and see how prices reveal themselves when they're launched later on today. And 3 cases though aiming for slightly different enthusiasts, because the Elite, obviously the top end with loads of features, tempered glass, RGB fans, and also a fan and lighting hub included as well. That's kind of gearing towards the high end of the market. These 2 focusing on the slightly lower end of the market, still not the cheapest cases around, but very reasonably priced compared to the competition, I would say. And thankfully a lot of the other stuff, other than the extra bits that this one comes with, apart from that, most of everything else is identical. So you get the same front panel, the same internal features, pretty much identical chassis apart from the different materials that are used. So we're going to be taking a look at all of them briefly today to see what you get, carrying out some thermal results to see which one performs better than the other, and coming to some conclusions at the end. All meanwhile, hopefully trying to avoid dropping any of them on my foot, as I say. But that's it from the intro, and all that's left to say is that I do appreciate the likes and subscribers, so don't forget to like, comment and subscribe on this video. Comments especially, love seeing you guys commenting and seeing what you think of these products or this video. And yeah, so that's pretty much it from the intro. We're going to check out the cases individually to see what features they have and what everything looks like inside, crack on with those thermal results and come to some conclusions at the end. So I'd like to thank NZXT for sending over these samples, and also don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. So let's crack on. Okay, PC fans, so here we have all 3 cases lined up and a PC built into the Elite, just so you can see how everything goes inside. And the first thing you should know is the top vent is the same on all 3 cases, so you have the same number of fan mounts, which we'll talk about in a minute, and the same removable panel. Now this is pretty difficult to actually remove. I've tried doing it with one hand holding the camera and the other hand wrenching the top panel off, so I'll probably do some B-roll here just to see how you actually do that, because it's not very easy. In fact, everything is very stiff on this case. I don't know whether it's just because it's new or just whether that's just the way it's designed, but you do need to give all of the panels a bit of a wrench to actually get them off. But they are tool free, so can't complain too much. It's nicer than having to deal with thumb screws, and they'll probably loosen after a couple of uses as well. So the Elite, the H7 Elite, obviously has 3 140mm fans in the front and a 4th one in the rear of the case. That's probably the biggest difference compared to it from between it and the other 2 cases that we've got here. They only have 2 120mm fans inside them. The other differences, of course, are the fan hub, which I will show you in just a second. But we've also got this vent in the panel here, which is also present on the H7 because the sealed front section just demands a bit of extra airflow, so it's kind of good to see that NZXT has at least thought about that. There's also another vent underneath here, as there is on the underside of the Elite 2. So the Flow, obviously, with all that airflow in the front, doesn't need that side vent. That's just kind of a remnant of the similar chassis here. There's obviously the side panel's off at the moment, but there is no vent in that panel because you just don't need it because of the front section. So front panel, as I mentioned earlier, is all the same. You get 2 USB 3 ports, a Type-C port and a single audio jack, but that can be split between headphone and microphone using an adapter supplied, and also power button, but no reset button. So that's pretty much it from this view. So we'll crack on to some B-roll now so I can tell you about some of the features. Each case offers a space for 2 hard disks and 4 dedicated spaces for 2.5-inch SSDs with an all-new cable management system and cable bar. The RGB fan and lighting controller, which is controlled by NZXT's CAM software with the Elite, offers 3 fan channels and 6 lighting channels. Each case has support for up to 3 140mm fans in the front, and the top supports 3 120mm fans with a 140mm fan slot in the rear. The roof section sports a large clip-in filter, and removing that reveals space for either 120mm or 140mm fans, also with space for a 360mm radiator, with the same 360mm radiator support in the front of the case as well. Another feature I really liked with all 3 cases is the removable front fan mount, which just makes it super easy when getting at the fans if you need to replace them or add a radiator into that section. Just makes it a whole lot easier being able to remove the entire section and fit it out of the case. Okay, so moving on to the thermals now then, and we should talk about my test system, of course, which includes an NZXT H7 Z590 motherboard with an Intel Core i5 11600K at stock speed. We've also got 16GB of Corsair Dominator Platinum RGB memory in white, of course, and also an NZXT Z53 RGB cooler with its fans and pump on full speed. Finally then, we've got a Gigabyte RTX 3060 Vision OC with its fans locked at 50% to make sure that they don't spin up in warmer cases and to allow for more consistent results, really. Okay, so looking at the thermal results now then, and the CPU temperature to start with, and no surprise seeing the H7 Flow at the lowest temperature of 62 degrees, but the H7 Elite with its 4 fans, with 3 of those 140mm fans in the front of the case, was able to keep up with it being just 1 degree behind, but the H7 with its single 120mm fan and sealed front section is the warmest case with the CPU temperature up to 66 degrees, which is 4 degrees C warmer than the H7 Flow and 3 degrees C warmer than the H7 Elite, but not really any cause for concern. So the GPU temperature now then, just as much variation here. We saw the H7 Elite this time take the top spot thanks to its 3 powerful front fans just blasting the interior of that case, specifically 2 fans pointed pretty much directly at the graphics card and its cooler. 71 degrees with the H7 Flow sitting 2 degrees behind that, and the H7 a further 2 degrees warmer. So what do we make of the 3 new cases from NZXT then? Well, I think all 3 H7 variants are pretty good for the simple reason that they share a lot of the same great features. You get the tool-free side panels, you get the same front panel, you get the same internal layout with improved cable tidying and the same storage options, etc, etc. But the one thing I should mention is that while the panels were pretty stiff to actually put on, something I did find in actually building systems into all 3 cases for the thermal testing was that the rear panel, the fact that it's held on a bit more tightly, means that you can really cram a lot of cables in there. And if you've had the cables popping open on other cases that don't have kind of like a screw fitting or a thumb screw holding them in place, that can mean that that panel pops off quite easily. That's not the case here. The panel is held on so tight that you once it's pressed in, pretty much no amount of internal pressure, or certainly nothing that you'll encounter in an average PC build, will force that panel to pop open again. So while the front, the roof and the sides are a bit tricky to remove because those push pins do sit quite tight in their enclosures, the rear panel actually benefits from that because it's less likely to pop open once you've tidied all your cables away. Of course, if you do a decent job of tidying your cables, you shouldn't have that problem anyway. But I know what, you know, everybody is different in terms of their cable tidying. Some people just like to mash it all in and then hope the side panel closes. If that's you, then this case is actually pretty good because that side panel is almost certainly not going to pop off no matter what kind of dreadful spaghetti you've got hidden behind it. So in terms of price, I think they're pretty good. The H7 Elite, obviously the more expensive of the three, at $200. And obviously if you don't need the fan adapter, the fan hub, should I say, with the RGB lighting and the cam support, then your next best option for me would be the H7 Flow that I've got here. This would probably be my pick, I think, probably in white as well. The black is great, but I would probably go for it in white just because it just has that supreme look, and if you've got liquid cooling in there or anything else with color, then it just really makes that color pop. So H7 Flow gets my vote, not least of all because it has awesome cooling, and only the NZXT H7 Elite was able to better it, and only by a tiny amount in the GPU thermals, with the H7 Flow managing the best CPU temperature. Now that was with an all-in-one liquid cooler. Differences might be a little bit more, a little bit less with an air cooler, probably more. But even with a liquid cooler, there was still some significant variation between the three cases, just thanks to their internal layouts. So make sure you check out those thermals, and make sure you check out the features earlier in this video to check out what is different between each three cases. There's not a lot, but there's a few things, especially with the NZXT Elite, that you might want to go for. The added fans, for example, able to deal with perhaps more heat in a higher end system. But obviously it's perfectly possible to add more fans to the H7 Flow. I would have maybe just liked to have seen a few more included as standard, especially in the front section, because they can benefit from that lovely mesh front section there. In terms of noise, things weren't too bad. Obviously a little bit louder with the H7 Flow, and its vented front panel did allow a bit of sound leakage, but the H7 Elite, those powerful 140mm fans, was actually surprisingly quiet considering what I was expecting from all those fans. But obviously they are still pretty powerful fans. There's a big vent in the roof, so it's not going to be a quiet case by any means at full speed, but knocking those fan speeds back certainly helped with keeping those noise levels in check. And I don't doubt that anyone out there will want to fine tune those fans, either in NZXT cam, or if you don't want to use that, you don't have to. You can just wire those fans up to your motherboard and head to the EFI and fine tune the fan curves in the fan control suite in your motherboard. So that's obviously not something you can do on NZXT motherboards, because they don't have the graphical user interface in the EFI for fan control, but you do have the old school manual settings there. So if you're desperate not to use cam, then you can do that even on NZXT motherboards. Other motherboards, you're absolutely fine. So the lighting, of course, you do have to control using cam, but I don't think that's too much of a bugbear if you do want that lighting, or you can just use whatever color it comes out of the box with. So overall, pretty impressed with all these three cases. I love the tool-free fittings. I love the extra cable tidying, or the extra thought that's gone into cable tidying here. As I mentioned, the tool-free side panels are pretty stiff, but they do mean that the far side panel that hides all your cables isn't likely to pop off anytime soon. H7 Flow, should I say, is probably my pick of the bunch. If you want a sealed front section, the H7 is the one to go for. Slightly worse thermals on that one though. And if you want to go all out with some pretty awesome cooling and RGB lighting, the H7 Elite is the one to go for, which is $200, and the other two cases are $130. So you can check out all three cases when they are available, of course, in the links below. There'll be direct links to below. And if you click on those, I just get a small cut of the fee from Amazon. So you'll be supporting the channel and helping me make more reviews like this one. And also in the links below is the hardware that I used in the build. So if you want to copy it or mimic it or whatever, use the same hardware that I know fits and we've seen fit here, such as the awesome Gigabyte RTX 3060 Vision OC graphics card, or the NZXT Z53 RGB cooler. All of that is in the link, are in the links below. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Of course, subscribers always turn on those notifications so you're notified when I upload new videos. I'll be back with some really cool stuff soon. So thanks for watching, and I will see you later.